If Jesus walked into your church today, he would not walk in like a celebrity or a prophet returning to applause. He would walk in quietly, almost unnoticed. He would push open the glass doors and step into the air-conditioned glow of a place built in his name but not in his spirit. He would hear the music echoing from speakers so loud it drowns the heart. He would see the screens flashing scriptures, lyrics, and donation reminders. He would see men in suits shaking hands like businessmen and people taking selfies in the foyer beside a banner that says "Welcome home." He would walk slowly down the aisle, his eyes moving from face to face. He would see people dressed in their Sunday best, whispering about faith but thinking about bills, marriages, losses, secrets, and fears they cannot confess. He would smell coffee and hairspray. He would hear the preacher warming up his voice behind the curtain, rehearsing the rhythm of his message, timing his jokes, and planning where to ask for money. Jesus would stand there in the back and watch. He would watch as they dim the lights, as the band begins to play, as the crowd lifts its hands to a rhythm, not a revelation. The preacher walks out, smiling like a salesman, talking about destiny and abundance and blessings for those who believe enough or give enough. Jesus would listen, patient, not angry yet, but sorrowful, because he knows they believe this is worship. He would whisper, "This is not the kingdom." He would look around for the poor, the sick, the broken, the ones he used to eat with. He would not find them. They cannot afford the show. They are outside, sleeping in cars, wandering the streets, hungry, forgotten, uninvited. Inside, people pray for miracles but ignore the living miracles breathing next to them. He would move toward the front now. The preacher would see him and pause, uncertain. Jesus' clothes are dusty. His sandals are worn. His eyes are tired but burning with something ancient. He walks to the front, past the guards, past the deacons, and stands below the stage. The preacher asks if he needs help. Jesus answers, "I came to see what you built in my name." The preacher smiles nervously and says, "We built a church, Lord." Jesus replies, "You built a business." The crowd murmurs. The preacher tries to laugh it off, but Jesus does not laugh. He walks up the steps to the pulpit and lays his hand on the polished wood. He looks out over the congregation. "I came for the living," he says, "not for a brand. You turned my name into merchandise. You turned my Father's house into a market of emotions. You sell heaven like a product and call it grace." The room falls silent. A woman in the back begins to weep. A man lowers his head. The preacher tries to speak, but his words fail. Jesus looks at the golden cross on the wall. He touches it and says softly, "You think this is what I wanted? I carried this because they feared the truth, not because my Father demanded blood. You made my suffering your trophy. You built an altar out of pain and forgot the life that moves through every breath." He steps down from the stage and begins to walk the aisles. He stops beside an old woman holding a Bible tight against her chest. He kneels beside her and says, "You have loved me your whole life. But they told you I lived in these pages. I live in you. You do not need permission to speak to the great life. It has never left you." He stands again and faces the crowd. "You say my name every week, but you do not know me. You worship me as an idol, not as a living presence. You repeat prayers you do not understand. You fear hell more than you love truth. You gather every Sunday to forget your week, but you never awaken. You say you are born again, but you are afraid to live free." He moves toward the door. "If I walked into your church today, I would not stay long. I would walk back to the river, because that is where I began. That is where the water still speaks. That is where my Father still moves. I would sit beside the flowing current, away from walls, away from microphones, away from titles and ranks. And I would wait there for anyone brave enough to remember." He steps outside. The sunlight hits his face. The birds sing above him. The river glistens in the distance. He walks toward it, each step lighter than the last. The crowd inside is quiet, unsure what to do. Some follow him out. Most stay seated, waiting for someone to tell them what to believe. At the riverbank, Jesus kneels. He touches the water and smiles. "Father of life," he says. They buried you in books, but you are still here. You flow through every living soul that remembers love. You never needed temples. You never demanded blood. You asked only for truth. He scoops the water into his hands and drinks. The sound of the current fills the air like music. And somewhere, far away, a man who has lost his faith feels a sudden warmth in his chest. A woman burdened by shame feels her tears dry. A child looks up at the sky and laughs without reason. The great life has stirred again. If Jesus walked into your church today, he would not condemn you. He would not demand anything. He would not ask for belief. He would simply look at you with eyes that see everything and say, "Follow me to the river." Because the river still flows. Because the truth never died.
Veritas lux mea.
Sharara B. Nura.
Veritas lux mea. Truth is my light. Be wise as a serpent.